Today, we're going to talk about your air suspension, specifically your air suspension compressor, how it works, what fails, and what it's going to take to replace it. Let's get started. Now this one came out of a vehicle. This pump didn't work at all, would blow the fuse. So after diagnosis and finding that the fuse was blowing, we narrowed it down to the compressor. Now we're going to see what caused this compressor to fail. Compressor failures are common, but they can fail in different ways. There's a lot of parts here. So let's take this apart and see what failed, and we'll show you how they work. First thing we're going to do is we're going to identify the parts of this pump. All right, right here, this part here is the electric motor. Inside of here is the rotating assembly. The electrical connector for it is right here. All right, and that is basically a high-speed, low-torque motor. Doesn't draw a whole lot of current, but it spins at a very, very high RPM to activate the pump. The pump works just like an engine. It's got a piston in it. We'll get to that. So this is the electric motor part. This other canister here, this is the dryer. This has a desiccant material in here, similar to the little packets that you get in a package when you get your deliveries. It's full of that helps dry the air as it's coming out of the compressor. When the compressor is pumping, a normal byproduct of that compressed air is moisture, especially in humid climates. This is supposed to dry that before it enters the system so that it doesn't cause any water damage to any of the other components. These can fail also. In here, this is the pump itself. This pump right here, the motor actually drives what looks like a crankshaft and connects to a connecting rod, which moves a piston up and down. It operates kind of like a two-stroke engine. There are no, the cylinder head's flat. There's no intake and exhaust valves really. It has reed valves on the piston, and what that does is as the piston's coming down, the reed valve kind of opens with that motion and lets it draw air in, and as its piston's traveling up, the other reed valve opens and lets the exhaust, which pushes the exhaust out into this canister to dry the air, and then this solenoid here opens up when it's commanded and lets the air out. So we're going to take this apart, we're going to look at what failed, and we'll talk about some other things as well. So let's get started. So we're going to need some Torx bits here. Let's take the cylinder head off first so we can look at the piston. All right, cylinder head's off. There's a little O-ring here. This is what seals it. Okay, this O-ring, that's your head gasket. All right, and there's our piston. The piston moved a little bit, not a whole lot. This is the cylinder wall. These are the reed valves that I was talking about. All right, one is intake, one is exhaust, and the crankcase, I guess you could call it, is where it draws the air in and out, and that's right in here, and that's where these reed valves come into play. One opens for intake and one opens for exhaust. All right, so the piston's not moving; it's kind of stuck there. So this is your intake. This is your intake. This is where the air comes in, and it's drawn into the crankcase there. We're going to pull this plug out. We're going to see what that is all about. A little O-ring on there to seal it as well. And we see some, oh yeah. Well, I know we have a catastrophic failure. This looks like part of a connecting rod. So that would explain the blown fuse and why the piston's not moving. Let's see if we can, yeah, we can move the piston back up a little bit. All right, well, let's keep going here and see what we found. Let's see what we can find here. Let's take this solenoid out. Oh, a little bit of water damage there in the solenoid. So our desiccant material either was saturated, not doing its job, or just worn out, or it may have ingested some water and the desiccant material wasn't strong enough to dry it. So that's not a good sign. So this likely ingested some water, and yeah, there's a lot of rust in there. Let's keep going here and see what we can find. This looks like it comes off as well. These are typically not serviceable. You're not really able to service any of the parts of the compressor. There are some companies that make some service kits, O-rings and stuff like that. The issue that you have is when you start to disassemble one of these, it is pretty hard to get it back together the way that it's supposed to go without some specialty tools. Yeah, that's kind of on there. All right, well, we're going to take the whole receiver off, the whole dryer assembly. Looks like 2 screws hold this dryer on here. Now this dryer also serves as a little bit of a muffler. Some of them have like a spring-loaded baffle inside, and it helps make it quiet so that it kind of evens out the pulses from the air compressor and kind of reduces the amount of noise that you hear on the outside. And this looks like it's spring-loaded. This is starting to pull away. But the receiver itself has that material in it. Now this shouldn't spill out. It should be sealed. There should be some kind of a molded in or pressed in retainer to keep all that desiccant material in there. There is a big spring here. There's our spring. Looks like some more moisture intrusion here. There's some rust. I'm not sure if you can see it right there, but there's some rust along that. And this is what holds our desiccant material in place. So this is the exhaust side of the crankcase. There's an O-ring here that seals this dryer to this, right? That O-ring actually looks like it may have rolled. Looks like it's damaged actually. So we're going to pull this O-ring off. So that O-ring looks like it was pinched and not really sealing right. So that could have been a source of failure. I don't know if we can pop this piece out without a lot of corrosion there. And I don't think we can get this off. Maybe we can. We're going to try. We can see all that corrosion coming off of there. All that aluminum oxidation. So there's another spring here and a seal. This seal fits in that spring and goes against the exhaust port of this crankshaft, or crankcase rather. So you can see, we hear some rolling around in there. All right, let's take the motor case off. It may look like none of these bolts are tight. I'm just really strong. They're actually on there pretty good. All right, let's see if we can get this off of here. Let's see if we can find a place to pop this off. So the motor end cap here may house more parts, more electrical parts in it. This is probably not a brushless motor, so it probably has the brush end, and maybe some of the wiring for that connector might be built into this also. So we're gonna see if we can do this without. Now we're not real concerned about reusing this motor because it's no good, but I still want to use some care. I don't want to get hit in the face with any spring-loaded parts or anything like that, so we're going to be very careful. So this is the end cap. There's a bearing that sits in that end cap, all right? Sealed bearing, doesn't require any maintenance. You can see the brushes of the motor. Regular electric motor, nothing special about the motor itself. The motor is a pretty typical 12-volt electric motor. We're going to see if we can pop this whole assembly out. These brushes, all right? And so you can see in here the electrical windings for the brushes, the contacts from that electrical connector there, all encased in this one piece here. That's actually pretty cool. If there were a service kit to repair that, if it was an electrical failure, that would be a very easy repair. The motor itself turns. I can see the motor turn, but we have no movement at all of this piston. And if we look in here, it might be hard to see. I can see the crankshaft turning. It's on an eccentric. And if I push down on the piston, rotation of the motor actually stops. So that tells me we definitely have something broken in here. Let's see if we can get this motor case off. These magnets are very strong. I'm going to pull this off. So the magnets of the motor, again, standard 12-volt motor. Here's our entire armature for the motor, and you can see that it rotates just fine. But it's hitting something in there. You can hear it. And I'm not sure. There's nothing else retaining this. So what we're going to see if we can do, let's try to pry it out. So that's probably why our fuse blew. The motor meets the resistance and can't turn it any further. I'm trying this pretty hard. It's not. I could probably, there you go, and it just snapped whatever was holding it in. So again, low torque, high RPM motor. It is not going to have the power to overcome any obstructions. There's another piece of the broken connecting rod there. So what caused that failure? Well, that's a good question. And my guess would be, seeing how much moisture this thing collected, it may have ingested enough moisture to hydrolock this piston in place, and the motor was spinning, it ingested water, and it probably couldn't overcome, it couldn't squeeze that water and broke the connecting rod because it was rotating at such a high RPM. That's a guess, but it's probably pretty likely. Another possibility is, now these are not serviceable, there's no oil in here. It's all sealed bearings. You can see the seal bearing there. There's a seal bearing on the inside here. It's a very real possibility that the motor itself just overheated from running continuously, and the connecting rod just couldn't hang on anymore. It's a mechanical part. They do fail. Nothing mechanical is made to last forever. They do wear out. I don't know how we can get this out because it looks like there's more debris in there that might be holding this together. So what I want to do, let me see if we can take this reed plate of the piston off, and maybe we can see inside there. Good habit to get into, keeping the magnetic tray close by. We're not going to reuse any of these parts. We're not keeping any of this, but it's just a habit, and it's a good habit to get into to be organized and keep all your stuff together. Now let's see what we can find here. Let's push this connecting rod up and see if we can get. Let's see if we can. That's not going to let us do what I wanted it to do. I think all those screws did was hold the bottom half of the piston to it. So let's try something a little different. All right, so we're going to mount this in the vise, but you can see here, there is the end of the armature shaft. The eccentric goes around, all right, that's what operates the connecting rod. That's what pulls it up and down. Now the connecting rod, you can see it's not moving because it's broken. We pulled those pieces out. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount this in the vise. We're going to see if we can pop it out. We're going to see if we can give it a couple of taps with the hammer and a punch, and see if we can't get this to understand what we're trying to do here and take this thing apart. We're going to just let this rest right on there. I don't want to crush the armature. I mean, we're not saving anything here, but it doesn't change the level of care that we're going to use here to make sure that we want to treat everything like we're going to reuse it. It is moving. It's a press fit, so. Feels like we just hit something that stopped it. So it moved a little bit. We did get it to come out, maybe a quarter inch or so, but that was it. It kind of just felt like it hit the end of its travel. So what I'm going to do, I think we can give this a couple more taps and see if we can persuade this to see things our way. I think we've reached the end of its travel. Somehow there's some type of retainer in there. Now let's see if we can, let's try, see if we can. Went all the way back in. Well, I don't see a retaining ring or snap ring or anything like that in there. So we can see, and it's hard to see in the camera view, but you can almost see the eccentric movement of that armature as I rotate this, and you can see the connecting rod there. I'm going to hold it down, and now it moves up and down with it. You can see that through that hole there. Now that connecting rod is on that bearing. There's a sealed bearing there. That black piece, this black piece here, is the seal of a bearing, and that bearing rides on the end of the armature shaft, and then on the inside, or on the outside rather, it rides on the connecting rod. Now the connecting rod we know is broken. My guess is going to be that it broke from water intrusion into the cylinder, and that motor couldn't overcome that, couldn't squeeze the water, and the weakest link was the connecting rod, and it snapped. These pistons, you know, they're pistons. They have piston rings. They can wear out. It's actually not uncommon for these cylinders to wear out. And what happens is when these cylinders wear out, you know, you get that pumping action. Piston goes up and down, but there's no seal there, and you're not actually compressing any air. You're just making noise. That's a pretty common failure. And on some vehicles, it'll actually set a code for that. It'll set a code for compressor runtime. If you set a code for compressor runtime, chances are you had a leak somewhere in your system, or the compressor's worn out. Mechanical parts fail. They wear out. As time goes on, the older these vehicles get, you know, these parts get used a lot. Think of how often your suspension system is leveling itself, and, you know, all these components, they do eventually wear out. It's not unheard of for you to set a code for compressor runtime, and the pump itself has just had enough, and the piston rings are worn, and it's just not pumping any air. It's making noise, sounds like it's working. You wouldn't notice a difference in sound. The sound would be the same because it's still, piston's still going up and down, motor's still running, still moving some air, just not the volume or pressure that it's expecting or that it needs in order to, you know, move a suspension system. You're talking, you know, probably over 100 pounds of pressure to activate the air springs in a vehicle. And if you're only making 30, 40 pounds because the piston rings are worn out, that's just not enough. It'll pump all day long. Eventually it'll time out. The module will shut it down because it knows it's not, you know, making enough pressure, and it's not actually making a difference. So these are the parts. This is what fails. There's a lot of components here that, you know, they're not serviceable, but I think it's important to see what makes this system work, what causes it to fail, and if you understand how something works, you can better understand how to fix it. We're going to go over a couple other air component systems in future videos, but we wanted to start with this one, and I hope that this helps you understand how the system works. In future videos, we'll go over some other stuff, but for now, let's keep fixing stuff. All right, you can do it. We can help.